Hey everyone, welcome to Rondell Designs YouTube channel and welcome back if you've been here before. Today we are going to make some wall hangings and all I'm going to use is these pieces of wood that I found in my garage. Always finding stuff in my garage. I wanted some natural twigs or branches, but I think when I moved I threw all the beautiful shaped ones I had out by accident. You could get some if you've got trees in your backyard and you've got branches that are falling down. Super easy. I love that look. It's much more natural. But I found this really cool vintage frame. I found part of an embroidery hoop and I found this long stick that has just been sitting in there. So I've also got a couple of little vintage doilies and you'll find that this is actually being cut off from a bigger doily. So if you don't have small ones, you can always grab a tablecloth or a larger doily and cut them up to make smaller ones. And then I've also got some of this wool. You can always get some from your local charity shops that are super cheap, or online, or from an actual craft store, of course. But I always like to try and use upcycle and recycle wherever I can, not only because it saves money, but it's obviously good for the environment, giving something a second life. Now, I've also got some feathers. I have these feathers from when I used to do regular make your own dream catcher workshops. So I'm just using those. You could find some feathers out in nature, or you could buy some from your crafts shop, or a lot of Etsy sellers sell them. Or you could even make paper feathers, which I used to do quite often when I was making feather themed artwork. So I might even do another tutorial on that in an upcoming video. So now we are going to get started. We'll do this one first because we're going to use one of the doilies. Okay, let's get started. So first off, you just want to tie off your wool or twine, whatever you are using to connect the vintage doily, and then you just basically go thread through the doily. I try and do it a couple in from the edge, because if you do just the outside one like I did with that first one, you'll find it's more likely to break, especially if you've cut these smaller doilies from a bigger piece. So as you can see, the first one I did through the hole closest to the edge, but after that all of the other ones I did from the second closest to the edge hole. And then you can kind of space the threading about 2 to 3 centimeters depending on the size of the doily. That gives you a nice tight finish. Once you've thread the whole way around the doily, before you tie it off, just even it out so that the doily is nice and centered. And you do that by what I'm doing here, just loosening it up a bit and then tightening the whole way around. Then you just need to tie it off at the end, make a little hanger, which is where you will hang it on the wall. And the hanger can be as long or as short as you want it to be, really. Then onto the next bit, you're just going to cut off a whole heap of pieces of wool and thread through. So you do a loop, so you double up the yarn and then put that little loop through and pull the tails through the loop. And then you literally do that until you are happy with the amount of yarn on the base there. So I like to also usually change up the colors. It's also nice to change up the texture of the yarn. So if you've got a few different styles, even lace and ribbon, that looks really nice too. But this one I'm just using the same type of yarn in a few different colors. Now I'm not really happy with the finish on the tie at the top there, so normally I would get a wooden bead or something to hide that, but I haven't got one today, so I'm just twirling some other colour yarn around there to use as a feature. So I'm really happy with that finish now, and all that's left is to trim the tails on the yarn. So I'm not going, you could go for a completely straight edge finish, but I like it sort of a bit natural. Okay guys, so I've just about finished our first wall hanging today, which is a dream catcher. Now I'm just going to attach 3 feathers because it's quite a small dream catcher. So I think 3 will be plenty. Now you can just tie these on, or you can use a hot glue gun, which is what I use. So I'm just popping a little bit of hot glue on the top of the feather there, or the base really, if it's up the right way. And then I'm just literally twirling the yarn around the tip of the feather. You could put wooden beads or any beads really on at this point. You'd pop it on the yarn and just sit them a bit higher and then sit them over the top of the tip of the feather. But I don't have any beads in my stash at home, so it's just straight feathers on there and then wrapping the wool around just to give it a bit of a nicer finish. Then onto the last one, and just remember guys, the hot glue is very hot, so do be careful of your fingers. It dries very quickly, but when it's still melted, it's really hot. So that's the first of our boho wall hangings, which is just a nice little dream catcher. Next up, we are going to use this stick, this doily, and some wool and feathers to make another hanging, and we'll see how it goes. So with this guy, I'm keeping it really simple. I thought what I'd do is just twirl the top of the doily around the pole, attaching it initially with a bit of hot glue, and then I think I'm going to just glue the feathers straight onto the doily, so it's a bit more of a colourful wall feature. And I've decided to go with white feathers this time instead of the natural brown colours. So I just sort of have a little play around first and work out where I'm going to position the feathers, and then I start gluing from the centre feather outwards. And as you can see guys, I've literally just dolloped a tiny little bit of glue on there and pressed it onto the fabric. Boho wall hanging number 2, literally just got this pole, an old doily I've had sitting around, and some white feathers. And I think this one's so pretty. Okay, straight onto the last wall hanging for the day. Now I've just gotten this timber frame that I am going to just put the yarn directly on, same way that I attached to the dream catcher. I'm just doubling over the yarn, putting the loop up, and then pulling the tails through the loop. And I'm just starting with the edges, so I'm working with the yarn I've already got. Okay, I've finished my third wall hanging now, but I have to trim it, which I'm a bit scared to do because I need to make sure I get it nice and even. So I think I'm just going to give it a nice little haircut and see how it looks. For this one, I wanted a really straight edge finish because I think it looks really classy, and I love how this one turned out with the colours and stuff. So it took me about 3 or 4 goes to get that bottom edge really nice and even. She's all trimmed up. Now I think that looks pretty good. I could go on for hours doing that, but for now that will do. So I hope you liked my 3 boho wall hanging ideas today. I think they make a great Christmas present for someone who loves that style. So rummage around your house and garden, see what you can find, and have a go at making one for yourself. If you like this video, give it a like and comment below if you're going to have a go at making your own wall hangings, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more DIY craft videos as well as handy craft business tips coming weekly to you. Thanks guys, and remember, get creative today.